You know, this is the life. Lemon drop martinis simply taste better on Cinnabar Island. Did you know that the lemons they use are specially imported from Oh, what's this now? A Patreon challenge request? Sandshrew Sandslash, kinda like the Paraspectre challenge you did. So I see. Defbam, aka Panhandle, has asked me to switch one shroomy for another shroomy. Thank you. But seriously though, as a gracious Patreon patron, I will accept the task and honor this request. So you may be thinking, why Sandshrew and Sandslash? Are they simply random picks? Listen up, you beautiful people. If you happen to watch the first part of my Paraspective series, also a big thank you to those who came up with the name by the way, I can't believe I didn't think of it myself, then you'll remember when I got to Route 4, I revealed something about me. Parasect is, in fact, not my favorite Pokemon. I know, I feel like I let everybody on, with my channel's entire branding and all, and the fact that I made a whole TCG video with just Paras and Parasect, and that I have a segment in the Paraspective in which I mention Parasect's whereabouts. So yeah, that may be a little confusing, but don't get me wrong, my Shroom Boy is still my Shroom Boy, and a top 3 favorite for sure. But my number 1 favorite has long been Sandshrew, after I realized that I like it more than Blastoise many years ago. It's a bit hard to articulate why. I just love the yellow pyramid color scheme and general design, and it looks awesome when it spins as a sphere. Also, Sandslash has been by far the most used Pokemon for me in past game playthroughs, and is basically right up there with Sandshrew. I kinda count the evolution cycle as my favorite. Ground is also my favorite type too, fun fact. So just for this episode, consider my channel to be temporarily rebranded to something like The Sand with the Golden Gun, or James Bondshrew, or something stupid like that to keep with the Bond and Pokemon theme. Paraspectre will return in the next video I make. So after learning this information, Defbam, aka Panhandle's request is that I should play through the Pokemon trading card game using only my favorite Pokemon, Sandshrew and Sandslash, and some trainer cards. Let's see what I'll be dealing with for this challenge. Sandshrew itself is a fighting type in this game with a lowly 40 HP, but it's given a very annoying attack to deal with from the defender's point of view. For 1 fighting energy, Sand attack does 10 damage and the opponent's attack could do nothing on the next turn with a Tails coin flip. The downside is that this is Sandshrew's only attack. Paras at least had Spore and Scratch for multiple options. So if Sandshrew is up against literally any flying type Pokemon, I won't be able to do any damage unless I slap like 3+ powers on it. Flying isn't a card type or anything, but winged Pokemon get the resistance to fighting to coincide with ground not being able to hit flying in the main games, as fighting, rock, and ground are all grouped into one type in the card game. That could be a major problem. Sandshrew has a weakness to grass, which is something I'm used to from my Matthew challenge, and a resistance to lightning, which is pretty huge. The Lightning Club and Grandmaster Steve should end up being very easy, but we'll see. And Sandshrew's retreat cost is 1. Sandslash gets more HP with 70 and now has 2 attack options. For 2 colorless, Sandslash fittingly has Slash, which does 20 damage. Not great, just average. For 2 fighting, it can use Fury Swipes, which does 20 damage for each heads on 3 coin flips. I'm personally not a fan of relying on coin flips to do any damage. I'm looking at you, Geodude. So it does kinda suck that this is Sandslash's main attack. And this also means that if I intend to do any damage toward flying types on this run, I will need to get at least 2 heads flips to do a measly 10 damage. Getting all 3 will yield 30, but I don't predict that will be happening all too often given its 13% probability. Apparently there is a way to time the coin flips to go in your favor, but I don't want to try and work on that. Coin flips are intended to be an even 50-50 shot by nature, so I'll accept my fate. Sandslash has the exact same weakness, resistance, and retreat cost as Sandshrew as well. So that's basically it. I should be able to dominate lightning and colorless Pokemon without wings and struggle with birds and grass types. And there are some grass types with the resistance to fighting like Scyther and Golbat, so I want to avoid those as much as possible. You better believe I'll have some gust of winds handy for this run. And I'll try not to get as many things wrong in this video. So many people pointed out that I didn't read Mr. Mime's Pokemon Power properly. Hey, I'm no TCG expert by any means, I'm just here having a good time. So I start my journey sitting through the insanely boring tutorial. I'd rather sit through a 3-hour lecture on the photosynthesis equation of the electron donor being 2H2A added to the equation was discovered photons plus oxidized. So once that hour-long match is over, I can get on with the challenge. I start with the Bulbasaur deck, although none of them are good options for this challenge. Both Sandshrew and Sandslash are found in the Charizard evolution packs, and there's a certain Rock Club trainer who loves to give those out. Unfortunately for everybody, we won't be stomping on Matthew over and over, although you better believe I want to. But instead, his friend who cries every 30 seconds in GB2, Ryan. Ryan is such a complete nerd that I feel almost as good taking his allowance money on repeat than I do taking it from Matthew. But Matthew gets a pass this time. And thanks to you super smarties watching my videos, I learned that I can save state before opening packs just like last time to assure that I get Sandshrew or Sandslash each time. I got 4 of each by doing this in like half an hour's time. Although I'm really lacking in fighting energies and decent trainer cards, so the deck will get better over time. But let's get this challenge going. I'll give Ryan the business a couple more times for fighting energies, and then it's on to Gene. Starting off, this took me forever to get a Sandslash, and by then he had a fully powered Golem and Dugtrio, so he just kinda knocked my shrews around pretty quick. Attempt number 2. I start with 1 Sandshrew against his Rhyhorn and 2 others. But I get a Sandslash on the starting draw. I start slashing at Rhyhorn's legs, but Leer can become pretty annoying quick. Gene gets a Graveler right away, so my thought is to summon the Winds of Change and blow Rhyhorn back into the Safari Zone, remove an energy from Graveler, and start Fury Swiping at it. I injure Graveler and he retreats for the OG Rhyhorn. I knock out Rhyhorn and in comes a different Rhyhorn with Horn Attack on the ready. Finally, I draw a second Sandshrew in case this goes south quick. Sandslash gets down to 10 and I get an 0 for 3 on Fury Swipes, and did I mention I'm not a fan of moves relying on coin flips? Sandslash goes down and I have 1 Sandshrew left, but also a revive. I used a Gust of Wind to bring in a stumbling Graveler and start stalling for a little bit to get more Sandies. He starts adding energies to Graveler, so I go for the KO. In comes Diglett. The thing with me not having enough fight energies in this deck yet is that grass energies can only be used for slash or super potions, which actually came in handy this round. Diglett's Mud Slap does an instant 30, which is almost a Sandshrew one-shot. But my Sand Attack comes in handy and I avoid damage while also drawing a Sandslash. I whack that mole back into the ground and in comes my old stone barraging friend, Geodude. We're both relying on coin flips to attack now, and this is pretty stupid looking. I win the coin flip battle though, and in comes another Geodude. I get this Geodude down to 10, he uses a super potion, I go 0 for 3 on Fury Swipes, followed by a 3 for 3 on the next turn. I guess I'll take it. 1 prize left. He brings in his 3rd Geodude in a row now, and I can't take seeing this rock monstrosity anymore, and I take it out in 2 turns, giving me the rock medal. I need to get this deck in better shape though. Gene's packs do not give me much. I end up switching out 1 grass energy for an energy removal is all. I think it's time to pay a visit to old Ryan again to load up on fighting energies before continuing on. So if you'll excuse me, I need to go make this kid drop his books. After causing Ryan to put a lien on his house for how many packs he bought me, it was time to head into the Lightning Club to really flex my shrews. But oh my god, I have to point out this one battle. You have to fight the 3 lackeys before Isaac, and I don't tend to bother showing these. My first match was against Jennifer's Pikachu deck. Seems easy, right? This was the worst battle in the history of Pokemon cards. Why? Because Jennifer has at least 2 flying Pikachu. Just look at this card. Thundershock doesn't do any damage to my Sandies, but can paralyze on a coin flip. Fly also can't hit my Sandies, but damage can be prevented on the next turn, which is essentially the same thing except I can retreat. But because it's flying, it has a resistance to fighting. So we're over here like absolute morons, switching off turn after turn of not only not doing any damage to each other due to resistances on both sides, but we're also coin flipping every turn to see if the attacks stop. I watched so many coins flipping that I had a dizzy spell. I actually did manage to take out one with a Sandslash, but it was seriously like 12 minutes later. I won by her running out of cards in her deck, and I didn't take any damage. That was an exercise in patience, let me tell you. Finally on to Isaac. As expected, there's really not much at all to say here. The Sandies having resistance to lightning has this be no problem at all. The only annoying part was Electabuzz getting a lot of paralysis luck from Thundershock, although it didn't do any damage to me. I only ever took damage from one Magnemite who blew itself up. Lightning coin obtained, but now it's on to the real Club Masters. Once I track down those inept fighting club trainers, Mitch is next. I get Sandshrew versus Hitmonchan, and even though Hitmonchan is considered one of the best starting cards, it was Hitmonlee that was the real problem. He quickly got 3 energies on it to do 50 with high jump kick. I actually did hold off for longer than I expected, but yeah, that was ultimately my downfall. Attempt number 2. This one was weird. I managed to take out both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee with little problem, but Little Machop was the one that took me out. Although I was not getting the right cards at all. Attempt number 3. Yeah, they did not do Sandslash justice in the card game. Attempt number 4. My one Sandshrew versus his Hitmonlee. This isn't terrible as Hitmonlee needs 2 energies to attack only my bench, which doesn't exist at the moment, and 3 energies to do any damage to me. He also has a Mankey and another Hitmonlee. So I start chipping away with Sand Attack. I get 2 energy removals, so I start removing them as he keeps putting them on Hitmonlee, which also means he's getting nowhere with powering up his bench too. Hitmonlee goes down, in comes his other Hitmonlee, but my prize is a Sandshrew, and I have a computer search in my hand, which allows me to search for any card in my deck by discarding 2. He gets yet another Hitmonlee. I computer search for a Sandslash and start dealing with a super fun Fury Swipes luck. Hitmonlee starts to stretch kick my bench through me, so I gotta get this fool out of there quick. I get 2 1-for-3 Fury Swipes turns in a row, and he slaps a defender on Hitmonlee. I now have 2 Gust of Winds though. I blow Hitmonlee away to bring in the fresh Hitmonlee and get 2 heads. Bam! 20 HP left on both. But he adds a 3rd energy to the benched Hitmonlee, so I act fast and blow this Hitmonlee away for that original one to slash its tires. His bench is looking pretty weak now. In comes Machop. But he blows my Sandslash away to bring in my hurt friend to low kick it in a real cheap shot. But then I go 3-for-3 on Fury Swipes all up on Machop, sweeping at the knees, claws flying everywhere. 3 prizes left. He brings in the injured Hitmonlee and plays his now 4th Hitmonlee, my god. Hitmonlee goes down, in comes Hitmonlee who goes down in 2 hits and take a drink every time I say Hitmonlee. 1 prize left, just gotta take down Machop. I get 2 0-for-3 Fury Swipes turns in a row, which is just so cool, so I say enough of this and blow Machop away to bring in his weak pig monkey to Fury Swipe my way to the fighting coin. Finally. Man, that took longer than I thought. That Fury Swipes luck is rough. I think it's time for the Water Club next. After taking down the swimmers with ease, I get to go against Amy. It starts with Sandshrew versus Goldeen and 2 others. I get a Sandslash on turn 2 and another Sandshrew on turn 3 and a Professor O Candy. She gets a Wartortle pretty quick as well, and due to some bad Fury Swipes luck, what else is new, it took me longer than it should have to beat Goldeen. So I become a scary Airbender and get that Wartortle in quick. Fury Swipes is actually decent, 40 damage done. Wartortle goes down easily, in comes a new Goldeen, but she also gets a Lapras. My Sandslash is taking a beating, so I use a Pokemon Center to fully heal while losing both energies. Goldeen goes fins down, time for Lapras, who can be difficult with Confuse Ray. Lapras goes down to 20, but I end up basically knocking myself out from confusion. Lame. Luckily, I have another Sandslash on the ready. Lapras goes away, 3 prizes left, and now I have to deal with Horsey, who I hate. Yeah, Smokescreen is the same thing as my Sandshrew Sand Attack, but so what? It's annoying when it's done to me, not them. And I cannot hit this stupid Seahorse. I use a Gust of Wind to bring another Wartortle that she got, and I miss yet again from Smokescreen. Wartortle withdraws, so I use another Gust of Wind to bring in a Seaking that she now has. 30-mile-an-hour winds blowing all over. I finally get a 3-for-3 on Fury Swipes, taking Seaking down to 10. Seaking gets fried, but now she has a Wartortle able to use Bite. I use a Potion, a Defender, a Plus Power, and put all of my hopes into Fury Swipes. And it goes well, 50 damage in 1 turn. I thankfully draw a Sandshrew with a Sandslash in my hand, which is huge because once I knock out Wartortle, her Seaking would defeat my Sandslash. Which is what happens, but I have 1 prize left. I get Seaking down to 30 and then get a 1-heads Fury Swipes, leaving it at 10. I feel like I can't seem to close these matches out in time. She of course retreats for Seadra, but, as I've been saying throughout all of these videos, the best card, Gust of Wind, seals the victory for me. I bring that big-eyed fish back to have decent Fury Swipe luck, giving me the Water Coin. Halfway done now. At this point, I'm pretty scared of the Grass Club, but honestly even more scared of the Science Club. They have some grass flying ones that could be virtually impossible to beat. But first, on to the Psychic Club, because Murray is a complete pushover. It's my Sandshrew against his Kangaskhan, and I love when these trainers use Kangaskhan. More often than not, it's a win for me. Not only does it have a weakness to fighting, but it takes 4 energies to even attack, and it's a coin flip based move. It has Fetch, which causes them to run out of cards in their deck fast, and it has a high retreat cost of 3. I try to make my opponents get Kangaskhan in as much as possible. But this match ends up being pretty weird. Let's fast forward a little bit into it. I've taken out 1 Kangaskhan and an Abra at this point, and he's used 2 scoop ups to bring 2 Kangaskhan back to his hand, so I missed out on 2 easy prizes. He even uses a Professor Oak to lessen his deck even more. He eventually has a team of 2 Kangaskhan and 2 Chansey. I get a Kangaskhan down to 10 and just leave it there, hoping he uses Fetch over and over and doesn't put energies on. He gets down to 18 cards in his deck, but sort of gets smart and stops using Fetch. I keep stalling. He uses a switch to bring in Chansey, so I used a Gust of Wind to bring that barely functioning Kangaskhan back. He's doing nothing fast until he all of a sudden gets a Kadabra and then Alakazam. He uses a switch to bring in Alakazam. Alakazam has the Pokemon power of Damage Swap, which allows him to move any number of damage counters on Alakazam to any of his other Pokemon as long as it doesn't knock them out. And oh my god, he continues to do this over and over, fully taking advantage of my typically terrible Fury Swipes luck. I'll hit Alakazam for 20 and 20 will move over to some random Chansey on his bench. I just gotta hold off until his deck runs out. Luckily, he doesn't seem to be getting enough energies to let Alakazam use Confuse Ray each turn, as I'm also removing energies. I eventually knock myself out from confusion though, 1 Sandshrew and 1 Sandslash left, and he gets down to 4 cards in his deck. I actually opt to keep in Sandshrew though, as Sand Attack is the better option than Fury Swipes at this point. But I eventually get a Gust of Wind to go with my original plan of having that Kangaskhan at Death's Door in, and it works. Murray runs out of cards, giving me the Psychic Coin. Throughout my 4 challenges, I've only ever lost to Murray once, my first time against him using my Shroom Boys, and that was my fault by forgetting that Sleep negates Mr. Mime's power that I already mentioned. I could have probably won then too. He's possibly the easiest Clubmaster. Fire Club is next. Oh my god, Ronald, go away. I can't with you right now. Fire Club is next. If you remember from before, Ken is known for not really using any fire types, even though he's the Fire Club leader. And that was mostly true with this battle too. He ended up using 2 Chansey, a Jigglypuff becoming a Wigglytuff, and then 2 Growlithe. I actually won without taking any damage at all. But here's the funny part. This was still an 8.5 minute battle because I was getting atrocious coin flip luck from Wigglytuff's Lullaby. This Sandslash was in a deep sleep and would not wake up no matter what I could do. I eventually had to use a Professor Oak to discard my stacked hand just to try to get something. I did get a switch in which I brought in another Sandslash who ended up one-shotting Wigglytuff with Fury Swipes. That was such an annoying battle even with it being a no damage run. It should have been over in 3 minutes, but I still got the fire coin. Only 2 left, and they're the bad ones. Let's get this over with. The Grassy Ladies were an absolute chore to get through, but I beat all 3 in about 10 combined attempts. On to Nikki. I kinda get a rough draw. 1 Sandshrew and a Sandslash, no fighting energies, and 2 double colorless energies. So I can at least use Slash on turn 2. Nikki starts with an Oddish. There's nothing I can do on turn 1 but take the Stun Spore from Oddish. Luckily, I also have a Potion and Defender, so I at least avoid the first Stun Spore damage. She gets an Execute and gets a successful Stun Spore, so this is looking bad. I heal Sandslash, but she does something pretty interesting here. She uses a Pokemon Breeder to instantly evolve Oddish into Vileplume, skipping over the Gloom stage. This is actually not a bad thing because she can't do anything with Vileplume yet, so that didn't make a lot of sense. Oddish could have kept doing damage and paralyzing. Vileplume can maybe heal with its Pokemon power, but that's not too terrible. But I start to get fighting energies, so I can use Fury Swipes here soon, oh yay. But check out this string of events here. I draw a fighting energy and get all 3 heads with Fury Swipes. Vileplume is plucked. In comes Execute, who fails putting me to sleep with Hypnosis, and bam, 3 more heads on Fury Swipes, which is crazy. Scrambled eggs for days. She has 2 Bulbasaur left with no energies. Bam! 2 heads on Fury Swipes. Bulbasaur down, 1 left. I have a plus power in my hand and I draw a Computer Search. I simply use Computer Search for a second plus power, use both to do an instant 40 damage with Slash, winning me the Grass Medal. I cannot believe how well that went. I barely took any damage too. You would think Fury Swipes was a great move if you just watched this battle. Just like that, 1 club left, but I'm a bit nervous for it. There's one bro standing in my way before Rick who uses a lot of flying Pokemon. Somehow I managed to beat him in one attempt, taking out 2 Zubat, Spearow, and a flying Pikachu. It was not easy. On to Rick. It starts out with my one Sandshrew against his Mewtwo, but I'm not scared of this Mewtwo at all. My turn 2 Sandslash takes it out in 2 hits, showing Mewtwo what it's like. But now I have to deal with his Grimer and Coughing Army, who are both grass types in the card game. I get even more amazing Fury Swipes luck, getting 2 one-shots on a Grimer and Coughing, which is huge. Have I been too hard on Fury Swipes? And would you believe I actually beat Rick on the first try by using just that one Sandslash? I cannot believe this luck. Sandslash is weak to his grass types, but I pulled it off. The 2 clubs I was most nervous about, and I win them in one attempt. The Fighting Club was the one that gave me the most problems this time around, which I did not see coming. But it's not over yet, and I have some problems now. I gotta deal with the Grandmasters who all use the legendary birds with that fancy fighting resistance. Yeah, I do not predict I win these in one attempt whatsoever, but let's see what happens. First is Fire Master Courtney with her fun as heck Moltres cards. In my first attempt, she gets 2 Moltres and one of them one-shots my only Sandslash, so that was quick. I think I need to think this one through. Attempt number 2. It's 1 Sandshrew against 3 Growlithe. It would take a long time to knock out all 3, only dealing 10 damage a turn, so this isn't looking good. I just gotta keep doing what I can and hope she doesn't draw oh, there it is, a Moltres using Fire Giver. Cool. So I knock out one of her Growlithe and in comes Moltres, but with no energies. But I get +2 in intelligence. For Moltres to ever do any damage, Courtney would need a heads coin flip from Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb one-shots Sandshrew or Sandslash, so it doesn't matter who's out. But Sandshrew has Sand Attack, which means Courtney would need 2 heads in a row to knock it out. What if I can stall enough for her to run out of cards? I now have 3 Sandshrew, so that's a lot of heads coin flips in a row for her. I take a huge chance and use a Professor Oak, putting my deck at less cards than hers, but not by much. I need some more options, and I'm hoping she uses a bill or 2 or more Moltres with Fire Giver. So I get to work blowing sand in Moltres' eyes over and over and over. Moltres went completely blind and was dive bombing nowhere near my Shrew Boys. Then I draw a card that will help have more cards in my deck than her. A Gambler. Gambler shuffles my entire hand into my deck, and with a heads I draw 8 cards, with tails I draw 1. But it finally happens. Moltres soars in at Mach 5 speed, slamming my Sandshrew into the topsoil. There was so much sand flying around, even I couldn't see him. 3 Shrews left, but I revived the one who just perished. I decide to pull a Kenny Rogers and use my Gambler now. Even if I draw 8, I'm still 1 ahead of her because I had so many in my hand. And that's what I get. I did lose my 2 Gust of Winds, and I get a Bill and Professor Oak, so those cards can go jump in the fire. Sandshrew keeps picking up sand by the handfuls and slamming them right into Moltres' beak and eyes, and it's all going as planned. 23 cards left in her deck, so I need a ton of luck still. And then, boom, I lose another Sandshrew. 3 left. 18 cards left in her deck, though. But then Courtney uses a Bill. Oh my god, yes. And then another Moltres, but she only gets 1 energy from Fire Giver. It's still 1 card less in her deck, so I'll take it. I have some options now, so I use a computer search to get a Gust of Wind to bring in the powerless Moltres to stall for a few more turns. I can also afford to use that Bill in my hand too, and I get a mysterious fossil from it. That's huge, as it's at least 1 more stalling turn, if not more. But I lose another Sandshrew, so it's time to bring in the lifeless fossil. Moltres misses twice until it knocks out my fossil, so that went quite well. 2 Shrews left and 7 cards left for her. Moltres is flying around like an absolute mad lad and continues to miss over and over. 2 cards left now. She also gets 2 powered up Arcanine in the process, so all she really needs to do is retreat Moltres, but no, you do you and you keep trying with Dive Bomb. Then she connects with another Dive Bomb. Holy wow, this is close. I'm down to my final Sandshrew. But then I get a super smarty idea. For the first time in this match, I'm going to evolve my Sandshrew into Sandslash, slap on 2 defenders, and wait it out. Even if she hits with Dive Bomb or retreats with Arcanine, I'm protected for 40 damage, and with 70 HP already, she would need to deal 110 in 1 turn. So her retaliation is just attack with Dive Bomb, and she misses. All I do now is draw my final card and end my turn, winning the match with 0 cards in my deck. I can't believe I pulled that off. That was also a 20-minute battle. Only 4 matches to go until I win the challenge. Thunder Steve is next, and this one should be the easiest. This was actually a 15-minute battle that was honestly so close. He ended up with 2 fully powered Zapdos, one being the one with Big Thunder that randomly hits any Pokemon on the board. He ended up knocking out his own Electabuzz and Electrode from it, and I was down to 2 prizes left with the 1 Sandslash out. I opted to not use a Professor Oak because I was running out of a deck fast. I took a chance, and Big Thunder ended up one-shotting my Sandslash, since resistances are ignored. Man, that was close. Attempt number 2. My Sandshrew against his Electabuzz, so that's an easy start. But then he plays the Zapdos that does 30 at random, and my Sandshrew gets blasted just like that. Electabuzz can't do damage, and I draw a Sandslash next. In comes Zapdos, so my best bet now is to either win by decking him or using as many Gust of Winds as possible to bring in the ones that are weak to me. Relying on 2 or 3 heads coin flips every turn has proven to be the worst. I end up dealing 20 to Zapdos and Gust of Wind it for an Electrode. Electrode is also kinda dangerous since Sonic Boom ignores my resistance. I remove its energies and take out Electrode. In comes the now healed Zapdos as he plays another one. Great. I use another Gust of Wind to get another prize from his Electabuzz, but before I can do that, he uses a switch to bring in the other Zapdos, and this one can potentially hurt itself with its attack. And just like that, I get 3 heads in a row, 30 damage dealt. Then he has Zapdos go Berserk and use Thunderbolt, which does a whopping 100 damage, but 70 with the resistance. But 70 is enough, and Sandslash goes down. The good part is that Zapdos loses all of its energies in doing so he can't spam it every turn. I bring in my next Sandslash and use a Gust of Wind to try and take out his EV. And again, he retreats it for the other Zapdos before I can do so. But I get another 3 heads in a row on Zapdos, and then 2. Maybe I can take down this Zapdos. I keep working away and eventually get yet another 3 for 3. Zapdos is down to 10, but he still has that other one. But I do it. I actually defeat the one Zapdos with some decent coin flip luck. In comes the other powered Zapdos, doing another Thunderbolt. I now have 2 Gust of Winds though, so I should be able to get 2 more prizes pretty easily. So I use one to take down Electabuzz. He brings Zapdos back, I blow it away to bring in Voltorb, which is another easy knockout, and I'm down to 1 prize left. And wouldn't you know it, I actually draw another Gust of Wind next. I simply bring the injured Eevee in, giving me the victory. I even defeated the great Zapdos, so that felt like a win. 3 more matches to go. Next is Jack with all of his Ice Boys. I start with one Sandshrew versus his Chansey. I keep kicking sand in its face until he just uses a scoop up to bring Chansey back and one-shots me with Articuno. Oh. Attempt number 2. This starts promising as it's my 2 Sandshrew against his Chansey and Seal, but I get some bad energy luck, which doesn't happen too often, and his Dewgong runs the table. Attempt number 3. It's my 1 Sandshrew against his Seal team, and again I'm getting bad energy luck. Only doing 10 damage a turn 2 has given him a lot of chances to power up. He eventually gets 3 Seal and a Ditto. Not terrible, but if he gets a Dewgong, it's going to get ugly quick. I finally draw a fighting energy so I can bring in my Sandslash. He puts 2 energies on one of his Seal, so I want to put the Kibosh on the possible Dewgong. I use my Gust of Wind to start hitting it. I take it out in 2 turns, then get lucky again and go 3 for 3, one-shotting the next Seal, so he only has 1 injured one left and a Ditto, which is of no threat. I use a computer search for a Super Potion since this is still my only Pokemon, just in case. Seal 3 goes down, only Ditto remains. But he draws a Lapras and brings it in. Ugh. I get Lapras down to 20, so let's finish this. Then he plays a second Lapras. Come on, I'm so close. So I take down the 1 Lapras, 2 prizes left, and I have a Gust of Wind and plus power in my hand. So if I can get rid of this Lapras, I can one-shot Ditto. I get Lapras down to 40, and like a real chump, he places Articuno all of a sudden with the Quick Freeze power, instantly paralyzing my Sandslash. God, I better not lose this now. So I throw a Defender on and waste a turn. He uses a Scoop Up to do that dumb Quick Freeze thing again, but it doesn't work this time. However, Lapras manages to confuse Sandslash, which is just so funny. I heal up and scarily put my trust in coin flips. It just barely goes my way here. I avoid confusion damage and deal the remaining 40 to have Lapras faint. But it's not over just yet as I remain confused. My prize though, an item finder. That actually does seal the deal as I discarded a full heal earlier with computer search. That's huge. I use Item Finder to bring it back from the discard pile, blow Articuno away, and push Ditto in a gooey grave for the victory. Heck yeah! Only Rowdy Roddy and Derpy Ronald remain. This Rod fight was just dumb. I managed to take out 4 of his Pokemon with a single Sandslash, but the ultra-powerful combination of Dratini and Magikarp tapping me with Pound and Tackle too many times knocked me out. All I needed to do was get more Sandshrew or anything that could heal me. Attempt number 2. This one was a rough first draw. 1 Sandshrew and Sandslash, but not 1 energy. Thankfully, I draw 1 on my first turn, so I can at least use Sand Attack on his Lapras. But you know what? This one was actually pretty similar to the last one. I couldn't find a second Sandshrew. However, the rest of my cards were great. 3 Gust of Winds and a Super Potion to heal from all the scary Dratini damage. There really wasn't much to this one though. He did get a Charmeleon at one point, and I need to get that out of there before it becomes a Charizard, and I do, all while removing its double colorless energy. Then I just take out the Lapras and 2 Dratini to give me the victory. No Dragonair, no Dragonite, Charizard, or Gyarados this time, Rod. Only Derpy Ronald remains. It starts with 1 Sandshrew versus 1 Eevee. Dude, easy. But look at what this fool does on his first turn. He plays a Moltres getting 4 energies from Fire Giver, plays a Zapdos doing an instant 30 to my Sandshrew, plays another Eevee, puts an energy down on Eevee and gets a Heads preventing all damage from Tail Whip all in 1 turn. Now, I could draw this one out, but nah, I'm gonna head out, bro. Let's just try that one again. Attempt number 2. It's my Sandshrew against his Kangaskhan. Oh yes. So in the past, Ronald is typically beaten with him running out of cards. It's just tradition. Since he's starting with a Kangaskhan, I'm going to do what I can to make sure Kangaskhan stays in. He starts playing Moltres down, getting more Fire Energies out of his deck. He keeps using Fetch on Kangaskhan when he can, drawing more and more cards. You just don't get it, Ronald, and this is why you're a failure. I leave Kangaskhan crawling at 10 health, but with 2 energies. He uses a Scoop Up at one point to bring Moltres back, and sure, you go ahead and do that. Why he didn't bring Kangaskhan back, who knows, but he does play a Dragonite, which heals 20 from all of his, so Kangaskhan goes back to 30 HP left. Then he tries to be real cute and slaps a double colorless energy on Kangaskhan, who actually knocks out my Sandshrew from Comet Punch. You schmuck. Guess I'll have to remove that 1 energy, and another one, and then another one. But Ronald will not put any more energies on him to even retreat, as I take advantage of this flawed AI once more. History shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man. Kangaskhan. So I just keep ending my turn over and over until he runs out of cards, just like I've done multiple times before. Is it too easy or cheap? I don't know, but I'm not doing anything wrong. He's fully able to start putting energies on to retreat, and he just doesn't. Another win on Ronald by decking, and now I can relax once again. But you know what? I think I will keep those legendary cards this time. Yeah, why not? The more times I keep winning them, the more kindling I have for my backyard fire pit. Now I'm thinking smart. So I did it. Another challenge done, and this time with my actual favorite Pokemon. To be honest though, this one was more often annoying than fun. I actually do think Sandshrew is a great starting Pokemon with Sand Attack, but this Sandslash is another story. At least with the Jungle Paraspectre, I'm automatically doing 30 with Slash, but this card, the Pokemon with Slash in its name, does less damage than Paraspectre does, and don't get me started on Fury Swipes, although it actually did pay off on the rare occasion. So I would say this one was more difficult than the Paras and Parasect one, but just because of how much reliance is put on chance to plan your next moves. So I got to play through using my 2 favorites, I proved how tough I am by being able to suffer through using Matthew's deck, I beat the sequel that took 30 hours, I'll have to ponder what the next challenge will be. But another thank you to DefBam aka Panhandle for deciding what this challenge was. As usual, be sure to check out my Patreon if you'd love to help support my channel, and I even have stickers now on most of the tiers. Look at me with all the fancy merch. Any little bit helps though, and it all gets me closer to doing this full time, which results in more content. A huge genuine thank you to my current patrons. Find me on the Twitter or the Facebook too for potential random fun. And for real, thank you all again for simply watching these. I've gotten a ton of positive feedback, and it's just awesome knowing that I've entertained those who enjoy my videos. I also need to do a quick shout out to Purple Sea Sigma for making this super neat Paraspectre hack for the game. I saw my dry bread also got one, so it's awesome that they took the time to make one for me too. I only didn't use it for this challenge as it's the one video where I'm not really Paraspectre, but I for sure had to mention it here. I also love the little logo in the corner. So thank you again to Purple Sea Sigma for that. Look for it in the future. Now what was I saying about those lemons? Oh yeah, they're specially imported all the way from the Sinnoh region from one island in the east. They're typically found in the jungle near where Tropius spawns.